Welcome back to another Business Talks. Okay, so we do have sound. And today we're going to talk about critical race theory. I'm going to give you my take on critical race theory, but I want you guys to look at this video first. And it's been a hot topic lately because I don't know if they were planning to put it in the schools. I'm not for sure. But all I know is people are like mad as hell about it. I know they banned it in Florida. So since it's such a hot topic, I decided to do my own little research, and I'm just going to give you my thoughts on it. But I want to react to this video, and I want you to see parts of this video before we dive into the subject. So apparently this guy, they're in California. Now, California, you think they'll be talking about race theory. And basically critical race theory is how something is constructed, or how America was constructed. And it's been around for some years. So it examines racism with how power intertwines with racism. And they're talking about power, law, social institutions, and society. And this theory was brought about in the 1970s. And it's three people that talked about it, like professors. Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, and Richard Delgado. Okay, so they're one of the legal scholars that created this CRT, or critical race theory. Okay, so anyway, it's been a hot topic and they're trying to put it in the schools, but a lot of people don't want, of course, the right don't want, the more conservative don't want it in the schools, and the left, they want it in the schools. They want it to be taught in the schools. So this individual, he's mad as hell about it.
My family has been here since August 16, 1619. The first ship that came back in Virginia. My family. We've been slaves for 400 years. Don't you tell me to go somewhere. I've been here probably longer than you.
So now this, I wanted to show you guys because this is after he gave his statement. Now, I hate when people, and you guys, I used to be guilty of it. When I felt like something was being wrong towards me and I felt like I was slighted because of my race, I go off on a tangent like this. Like I was like literally Black power. And when I remember, because in high school, I was in Iowa, and I just thought everything had a race undertone to it. Everything was hidden racism. And so when I go off on tangents, Black people been slaves for 400 years, you know? So I was this guy. Maybe about in my high school years, I was that guy. That kind of backed off of it lately. So I could say this kind of tangent, I probably wouldn't have did that in my adult years, you know, probably in college maybe, but like my adult years when I'm working with people, I never acted like this guy right here. But, you know, he's passionate about it. So I'm not going to, you know, say, hey, he's wrong for thinking about it this way. But I really had to examine, okay, what is critical race theory? So why are you so passionate about it? And to me, it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't warrant this reaction. And I'm going to tell you why. But let's react to this video. We're going to react to this video. And if you guys seen the thumbnail, it's What's the guy's name? Let me pull his. I forget what his name. He's another race hustler. His name is Dr. What is his name? Dr. something. Anyway, he operates the channel Undisputed, and he's on that TYT network. I think that's the Young Turks network. But anyway, very, very liberal channel, and they always looking for something that has something to do with race. Everything has to do with race, and it's the white man's fault, and white people should pay you some type of reparations. But they do not include the fact that, okay, we were brought here on a ship. So how we get on the ship? So and now Africa is acknowledging their part in slavery. So we know our own people sold us. So what's now? But we're not going to hold them accountable. We're just going to hold these white people accountable. Anyway, that's long story short. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty right there, but I do want to talk about this guy. And like I said, he's a race hustler, and he finds everything wrong to do with race. It's always black and white. Oh, you don't agree with me, you got to be racist. And I think it's not like that. I think especially with this critical race theory, I think totally different to what they're saying. And so he's going to show you what he's talking about.
The wrong black man from a proceeding. Let me first take you to the video. Here it is.
It is widely recognized by the vast majority of experts that bringing CRT into the K-12 classroom is just as outlandish as bringing calculus to the first grade classroom. Neither idea is viable or credible. Therefore, it is asinine to ban CRT when it isn't even taught in any K-12 classroom in the United States of America. Your continued blatant, willful ignorance of the black experience in this country is not only shameful, but also detrimental to the education and growth of our children.
So let me stop you here. Did you guys hear? He made a comparison that K through 12 is crazy for you to ban this CRT, K through 12, because it doesn't even exist. So why ban it? We don't teach calculus to kids. So critical race theory is not even a question. So why ban it? So that's his argument. So why are we even having an argument? Why are you getting so upset about this?
The first grade classroom.
I'm going to replay it because I really want to know what he's talking about.
Here it is.
It is widely recognized by the vast majority of experts that bringing CRT into the K-12 classroom is just as outlandish as bringing calculus to the first grade classroom. Neither idea is viable or credible. Therefore, it is asinine to ban CRT when it isn't even taught in any K-12 classroom in the United States of America. Your continued blatant, willful ignorance of the black experience in this country is not only shameful, but also detrimental to the education and growth of our children. If I feel that way, why don't I get out of the country? Kelly. My family.
Sir, that's your first warning. The second warning, you'll be asked to leave.
She said get out of the country.
So, and now they're having a discussion. Well, they're not even having a discussion. Now, this was pretty late racist. She said, well, if you feel that way, why don't you leave the country? And so he responded back. But my only thing is, okay, so if CRT is not being taught, are you saying it should be taught? And then with critical race theory, I don't want anybody teaching my kids any theories. Just teach them basic math. And when we talk about African American studies, okay, we learned that basis African American study. We didn't really get down deep. I didn't really start knowing like the traumatic part of Black history until I got into college, because I took those elective courses. And then growing up, we was part of, my mom had us in some type of after school program where the guy was a Muslim and he would teach us a lot of stuff and about African history. So it's like we never taught that. And I wouldn't trust the school. Now I'm a Black person. The school's teachers are 75% white. Why are you dependent on the school to teach your kid about your history? Now y'all might be mad at that, but really, why are you dependent on this white lady? Like I said, 75% of the teachers are white. This white lady to teach your kids any type of history. And then another thing why I don't like CRT. Well, before I start getting into that, we're gonna watch it through.
She told me to get out of the country. My family has been here since August 16, 1619. The first ship that came past.
My family has been here since August of 1619. We were the first slaves here. Why are we wanting, and I'm talking about Black people, why do you want to have that badge of honor? That you were the first slaves here. Like, of all things that you could be proud of, you're saying it like it's something proud to be. Like it's a badge of honor. I'm not claiming that. I am not claiming that badge of honor. I'm denouncing. I, Shawan Burns, denounce that I was part of the slave. My ancestors was part of the slave trade. I am not ADOS. I am not American or African descent of slavery. I'm not ADOS. I denounce that here and now on April the 27th. What time is it? April the 27th, 2:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because to me, this is ridiculous. So you get mad at something that doesn't even exist right now. You're debating something like, okay, they didn't put it up. Oh, we need to put this on the list to see if we want to get Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. I'm sorry about that. I don't know where I left off at, but we were watching this guy saying he's been a slave for 400 years. And El Jefe, I think I'm saying your name right. El Jefe is said, if you trace back far enough, almost everyone is a descendant of slaves. Yeah. Slavery is a part of world history, not just American history, world history. Matter of fact, there's still slaves today. People don't talk about that either. So this guy, I don't know if you got on my stream where I was denouncing being part of ADOS. So I denounced that. I don't want to be a part of that because I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous for Black folks to use that as a badge of honor. And he's crying and he's getting really upset about something that's not even on the docket to be something. So I don't understand. And he keep on saying 400 years, 400 years, 400 years. Okay. Yeah. You gonna cry about something that happened 400 years ago? Does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, and I'm not saying like, now this is California. California is supposed to be butterflies, unicorns, and all liberal city or liberal state. And the lady told him to go leave the country if you don't like being here. But she did not say, did she say go back to Africa? She didn't say go back to Africa. She said leave if you don't like being here.
If you would like, the whole auditorium can leave. That's the way we're going to conduct.
Joe, that is Joe.
We need order in the building, or I'll let everybody leave.
I object to that.
All right,
if this
10-minute
woman
recess.
said that to him,
10-minute recess.
she needs to be excused.
I'm going to explain what happened. It was actually a beautiful thing. The brother spoke truth, 100% unfiltered truth.
And this guy, the brother spoke truth, 100% unfiltered truth. Like his, you know, he got a doctor on his name too. I'm gonna get me a doctor's degree. Matter of fact, I graduated. I do got my doctorate degree. It's in the mail. And I graduated in December in African American Studies. So I'll show it to you when I get it. I think I'm supposed to get it in a few days. But yeah, his name is Dr. Rashad Ritchie. That's his name, Dr. Rashad Ritchie.
Put up his picture full mass. California School District, a workshop on critical race theory became somewhat chaotic after a woman apparently told a Black male to leave the country. And the board's president called for the man to be removed. The event came after the Temecula Valley Unified School District's governing board voted to ban something that's not taught, critical race theory.
So they're banning something that's not taught, but they just trying to get ahead of things. That's what they try. They try to tell you guys, hey, we banning it before y'all even come over here. We not doing that. California is all about making you feel good. You can't make people feel good if you're going to be saying, oh, this is how you treat me. All the system is rigged against me for me to fail, and it's your fault. That's basically what it is. So they don't want, California is all about unicorns and butterflies. So they're not trying to do all that. They trying to let your kids change over to another sex. They don't have time to waste their time on critical race theory, and it's a theory. They want to waste their time on other theories, like changing your kids to a different sex.
The decision in December sparked protest from students, educators, and community members. The reason it sparked protest is because they knew they were simply trying to stop teachers from being able to teach true history.
Teachers, and when you saying stop teachers teach true history, is it part of the curriculum? Don't just be teaching my kids anything. Is it part of the curriculum? If it's not in the textbook, you don't need to add on into the textbook. Just stay with the curriculum in the program. Don't be adding stuff in, and like they be adding that LGBTQ stuff in. So why are we getting mad about that?
Wednesday's workshop, Black member of the public named Dion stood up to deliver comments expressing how deeply disappointed he was by the board's decision to bring in a panel of so-called experts on critical race theory. Dion added that CRT was not even taught in K through 12 classrooms. Now let's put up some of the members. You have Stephen Schwartz, board member, told Newsweek that as Dion finished speaking and was leaving the podium, a white woman to the right, you're looking at her there, made a comment to the effect that he should get out of the country. He responded to her and the audience became angry. Let's put up the board president, Dr. Joseph Komrosky.
Well, so she said you should get out of the country. So if you don't like America, you should leave. Maybe if it was a black person saying that, maybe it wouldn't have been racist, but since she's white, it was racist. But she didn't say go back to Africa. I mean, she could have hit him with that. Maybe she was trying to be nice about it.
Dr. Joe told Dion that he was being given a first warning and would be asked to leave if given a second. Once again, no words for the woman who told him to get out of the country. Board member Allison Barkley also spoke with Newsweek to say she objected to the man's removal. She could be heard saying in the video, if this woman said that to him, she needs to be excused. The woman was later asked to leave. Schwartz said the meeting devolved into chaos and the board president declared a recess, he added. Barclay said she had asked Komrosky to also remove the woman who had made the horrible remark to the man. Meanwhile, an anti-CRT panelist who attended the event took to Twitter to spread misinformation about what occurred. Now, this is Dr. Wu, PhD. Dr. Wu says the mob just disrupted USD CRT workshop with a pro-1619 public commenter, getting extremely confrontational, and the other shouting as a racist panel, shouting us as a racist panel. The two union-backed trustees then conveniently protested by leaving the meeting without a quorum. Link here. Additionally, a district trustee, Jen Wiersma, had recently shared this video on Instagram blaming black people for their own enslavement. All right, for their own enslavement. Let's go to the video. Here it is.
I had the chance to go to the district office and
she did not. I didn't get this from here, but we'll watch it.
participate in a focus group on critical race theory with Chris Aaron leading the discussion. He went through the academia of it, the roots, the history, and then how it's applicable to our classroom. Interestingly, there was someone there who clearly had the opinion that it is a-okay to be in a class where, for example, white students feel the shame of their patriarchy. She pretty much argued for the fact that because of our historical past, they should be made to feel uncomfortable, feel some of that guilt. I find that disingenuous and a flawed way of thinking, because this is the thing. If you look at all of history, every skin color has both been a slave and owned a slave. Black slave traders actually sold their people, and trafficking still goes on today. It's all wrong on every level. Now, I am all for discussions that aren't censored. However, it is important for our students in a classroom to not feel like they're the oppressed or the oppressor. That is dividing within an ideology that does not educate. So let's talk about true history, but then let's talk about how important it is to develop one's character moving forward, appreciating other people's ethnicities, and realizing here in America, in the last 50 years, we have made great strides in breaking through issues of racism.
And so did you guys get that she said that black people was enslaved because it was their own fault? That's what he said. Now, he's trying to say, oh, it's your fault because you was a slave. That's what he's trying to say that she said. And she didn't even say that. So that's what I'm saying. He's a race hustler. And this critical race theory, I think, is all about trying to make a person feel like, oh, I'm bad, I was a slave, and then the white kids looking bad and feeling sad for themselves because they enslaved you. And actually, it had nothing to do with them. They didn't ask to be here. None of our kids asked to be here. Now, we're going to teach history, and which I totally agree. But don't be teaching that guilt stuff. And we're going to talk about what critical race theory, because some people think critical race theory is almost to shame white guilt, or to have that white guilt, and to actually use racism on white people. And to me, that's what it seemed like, to actually be racist towards white people. So listen to him.
I would love to have you, madam, on the bullpen. So let's go ahead and get that invitation out today. I got some education for you, if you're up for it. All right, obviously, once again, CRT, not taught in K through 12 education. Very simple statement, okay? Not taught. I thought he made a great analogy. I've actually made a similar analogy before. To say CRT is the same as teaching that slavery is real, that slavery existed, that the KKK was an oppressive, racist organization. To say it's the same is like saying math and calculus are the exact same thing. Critical race theory is an advanced theoretical construct.
And did you guys get that? I didn't get what he was saying. Yeah, like maybe I'm just really that simple that I really don't get what he's saying. Now, calculus and math is the same thing, fool. If you want to advance mathematics, and I'm saying that because I almost got my advanced mathematics degree. And one of those classes I had to take was differential equations 3. So what is he talking about? Math, and it goes under. If I would have got my bachelor's in science and mathematics, I only had 2 more classes to take. They was trying to get me to double major. It would have said mathematics, BS and mathematics. So that's why I don't get what he's talking about. To me, they do all these mental gymnastics to get you confused. Just say what you mean. I don't really understand what he's talking about.
Meant for advanced level collegiate studies. I did not learn critical race theory until probably 2016. So the dynamic of
So, and then another thing, okay, critical race theory, like I said, I took an elective in college, and some of them dived into critical race theory, but it wasn't like African studies. It was some other country we were learning about. So if it's not a thing, then why are you getting so upset about it? If it's not a thing, if we don't teach it to the kids, why are we getting so upset? Why even mention? Why did you get upset because they banned it? Why? They don't teach it to the kids now. So do you want them to teach it to the kids? I just don't understand what the whole purpose of this.
Well, we are going to stop this CRT move. Doesn't exist. What are they stopping? They want control over teachers teaching one element of history. They don't want teachers teaching the truth about racism in America, how it started, how it continued, and how it permeates today. Those are the things they don't want. Now, you have to ask yourself why. This is not simply about them feeling guilty, because they don't. The mere fact that they support legislation in order to limit a teacher's ability to teach shows you this is not about guilt. This is about comfort. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. That's it. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. And there's another dynamic involved. You see, children are the future problem solvers of any nation, And when they solve or resolve or remedy a problem, they must also find who was the catalyst or originator of that problem. The children today are in a position to judge the adults of today as well. And so the adults of today, like Governor Ron DeSantis, they are hell-bent on creating a system that makes a child believe no problem ever existed. This is not about saving children. This is about saving themselves. All right, Ben, thoughts here?
I mean, I still think that we should ban something that doesn't exist in a context where it doesn't happen.
He's this guy. I didn't really listen to him that much, but I'm lost for words, because I really don't know what his whole point was. If it doesn't exist, then why are we even talking about it? But you want them to teach your kids this. That's what they getting mad about. You want your kids to learn this critical race theory, and so you could feel or you could spread hatred. That's basically, you could spread hatred. For example, so I have 2 children, and a couple of years ago, maybe, and I had to stop doing this. A couple of years ago, one of my, like, they would come home and they would say, "Hey, Shawan," or "Hey, mommy, something happened at my school and it was with this boy, blah, 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 blah." And I will always ask, "Oh, was the kid white or black?" I was always asking that. Was the kid white or black? And I didn't know that I was forcing, and they were just describing the kid. But me as a parent, and I'm so calling this race thing, I was asking, "Oh, was the kid white or black?" Because I was so focused on, they bet not treat my kid any different than any other kid. Or that kid is probably racist. I never said that to any of my kids, but I was focused on that. The kids are just focused on being a kid. They don't know. And I think for racism, will racism ever not exist? Probably not, because you raise your kids how you want to raise them, and you can't control what people say in their home. But I'm a firm believer you shouldn't be dependent on the federal government to teach your kids anyway. If you want your kids to know a specific information, you need to teach them yourself. You shouldn't, like I said before, you shouldn't depend on the government to teach your kid about race and the atrocities of race or what happened in America. That should be on you. So why are we getting mad and upset? Because they don't want to teach that. This is an article kind of explaining what is critical race theory. Okay, and now since it's a hot topic, I think they were trying to bring it into the schools, and I think some states have passed where they could teach about critical race theories. And it was like in Florida, it didn't pass, but they had a curriculum where it had advanced studies. It was supposed to be some type of advanced class or an AP class for kids that are advanced in academics. But one part of it that they noted, now this is Florida, they was talking about being gay and lesbian. So that was part of the curriculum. And it's like, okay, so why would you want to teach that? What does African history or African American history have to do about being gay and lesbian? So, and I actually had a discussion, and I'm not going to tell you who it was, but they were saying that, oh yeah, being gay and lesbian is part of our history. No, it's part of your history, ain't part of mine. You know, they ain't that. So that's one of the reasons why Ron DeSantis banned that critical race theory. Okay. So this article is Education Week. I don't know if it's but it's a left or right, whoever wrote it. I don't know. But it's on a nonprofit website. So it's edweek.org. Let me get to some of your text before I start reading that. Okay, so dude looked like Killer Mike ate Shrek, LOL. Sad thing is, with dumbing down the indoctrination, going to the people that supported Marxism will be the first ones against the wall and put down by PLA. What's PLA? I don't know what that is. Y'all can do the acronyms on me. I'm not that good at acronyms. Lot of defense people on the right can't effectively counter these narratives because they are unaware of their history and deliberately negligent. It's very simple. It's a cultural Marx indoctrination. Yeah, you're right. LFA said, I think it's fine to teach about slavery and Jim Crow, but they want to make history about injustices towards Black people. Yeah, I think that's what the problem is. And they're trying to say the injustice towards Black people, and it still lives today. And we're not saying there's no injustices, but there's injustices everywhere. And you guys, when we talk about, and it's going to show it in this article, when we talk about injustices, as far as redlining, and right now they prohibit for you to build certain things in certain areas. Like if there's a single family home area, you can't build an apartment building in that area. So, and they mention that, and that's a problem. They're saying that is like a racial injustice. It's basically redlining. And I don't agree with that. And since I'm a single family homeowner, I don't want them. They were just building in the back of our yard. Somebody purchased the farmland, and now they're building in the back. So I would have been pissed off. I bought a home. Now our home is worth close to $500,000. I would have been pissed off if somebody built an apartment building, because that would have took down my home value. So that's just protecting the values of the home. Is that a racial thing? No, that's more a classes. If you could say classes, yeah, that's a classes thing. We don't want apartment people in the backyard. So you only could build when they sold the land. They had to show the plan with the city, and they had to follow those plans. So I don't think that's a racial thing. That's more a social thing. And that's just protecting the value of your people's land. I don't think nothing's wrong with that. But they mentioned that in this article. And I'm like, what does that have to do with racism? So it says critical race theory is an academic concept that is more than 40 years old. We discussed that at the beginning. The core idea is that race is a social construct. I believe race is a social construct, and that racism is not merely the product of individual bias or prejudice, but it's also something embedded in legal systems and policies. The basic tenets of critical race theory emerged out of the framework for legal analysis in the 1970s and 80s, created by the legal scholars Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, and Richard Delgado, among others. The good example is when in the 1930s, government officials literally drew lines around areas deemed poor financial risk, often explicitly due to the racial composition of inhabitants. Banks subsequently refused to offer mortgages to Black people in those areas. That still happens today. That still happens today. Is that a racial thing? No, because, and this is why I tell you it's not a racial thing. If you go in Detroit, and this is why Detroit insurance is so high. You go in Detroit and you own the house. When the housing mortgage went out bankrupt or whatever, collapsed in 2008. Say, for instance, you had a mortgage on your house for $100,000. Now that the mortgage is your value, your property value is only $30,000 because the collapse. And they were saying, oh, they over leveraged themselves. The finance company or the lenders, they gave out mortgage values 110% greater than their value. Okay. So that still doesn't decrease in that still doesn't equate to the difference. Okay. So you gave me $100,000 mortgage or $100,000 mortgage. My property value probably was worth 90, but my property value when the mortgage collapsed is only worth 30. So now I got this $90,000 balance. That's the $60,000 difference. So how do you explain that? Does that have to do with race? But that happened everywhere. Now, one thing in particular, if you try, because I was looking to buy a commercial property, and the lender asked me, were you buying in Detroit? Insurance, sometimes you can't even get insurance in Detroit. You know why? Because they have a high insurance fraud rate. Oh, I don't need this property. That's why all these houses weren't burned down, because they was doing insurance claims. If you go in Detroit now, they got them all torn down now. But back in 2008, oh, I don't want to be in this mortgage, so I'm gonna burn this house down. So that's why some they don't lend in Detroit. That's why some mortgages lenders don't lend in Detroit. That's why some insurance agencies don't insure in Detroit. You got a high theft rate, you got a high fraud rate. So that's something you have to deal with when you live in the urban area. So is that a race thing? I know, because it could be Mexicans. Mexicans live in Detroit. There's some white people live in Detroit. So I don't think it had to do, that's more a classist thing to me. Black people are just the main people in that area. Let me know what you think. I mean, maybe I'm just talking off the side of my neck, but I just don't see it. You know, I don't see how this critical race theory could help kids. I think all it does is cause further divisiveness or divisiveness with children, and children shouldn't even be thinking about race. And like I said, I gave you that story. I was bringing up race, and the kids, they just looking at me like, does it matter? Who cares if the kid was white or black? But I was saying this. I was teaching my kids to notice if the kids was white or black. Today, those same patterns of discrimination live on through facially race-blinded policies like single-family zoning that prevents the building of affordable housing in advantaged majority white neighborhoods, thus stemming racial desegregation efforts. No, you can't. They have zoning everywhere. They're zoning. If you get into real estate, you know there's zoning everywhere. You can't just put up a single-family home and a subsidized building, because that will be commercial. They don't lump those all together. That's in Detroit. That is in what they call white area, majority white neighborhoods. So you just can't do it. CRT also has ties to other intellectual currents, including the work of sociologists and literary theorists who studies links between political power, social organization, and language. And it's ideas that have since informed other fields like humanities and social sciences and teachers' education. This academic understanding of critical race theories differs from representation in recent popular books, and especially from its portrayal by critics, often though not exclusively conservative Republicans. Critics charge that the theory leads to negative dynamics such as focus on group identity over universal shared traits, divides people into oppressed and the oppressor, groups, urges, intolerance. Thus, there is a good deal of confusion over critical race theory, as well as the relationship to other terms like anti-racism and social justice, which is often conflated. To an extent, the term critical race theory is now cited as the basis of all diversity and inclusion efforts, regardless on how much it's actually informed those programs. When they say diversity and exclusion, to me is blah, 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 blah. Who cares? You know, when you get to that part, it's literally, kids should be worrying about, hey, can I read and write? They don't need to worry about the advanced stuff that adults worry about. They need to just be kids. Just be kids. If you want your kids to know about how traumatic slavery was, even if you wasn't a slave, you teach your kid that. You want to teach your kid why your daddy ain't here. Your daddy ain't here. You teach your kid why your daddy ain't here. Did it have anything to do with the systematic racism? No, probably not. Your daddy in jail. Did it have to do with oh, they gave him a harsher penalty because he was selling drugs. No, that didn't have nothing to do with systematic racism. No, it had everything to do of his life choices. One conservative organization, the Heritage Foundation, recently attributed a whole host of issues with CRT, including the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests, LGBTQ clubs in schools, diversity training in federal agencies and organizations, California recent ethics studies model curriculum, the free speech debate on college campuses, and alternatives to exclusionary discipline, such as the Promise program in Broward County, Florida, that some parents blame the Parkland school shooting. When followed to its logical conclusion, CRT is destructive and rejects the fundamental ideas on which our Constitution Republic is based, the organization claimed. Does critical race theory say all white people are racist? Isn't that racist too? The theory says racism is part of everyday life, so people, white or non-white, who don't intend to be racist can nevertheless make choices of fuel racism. Like I said, this is a bunch of, how about, hey, I don't want to give you this opportunity because I don't like you. Yeah, you know how they do interviews and this person look good on paper. They look good on paper, got they resume cross all the T's, dot every I's. They even got like Shawan, they still call me on the interview, but when I get there, you know, they didn't like me. Is that racism? My name is Shawan, by the way. My name is Shawan. I got a black name. I get there on the interview. They call me to the interview. I get there. I'm thinking I did a good job, but there's other candidates. And they didn't fill the spot. Is that racism? Or is it just like maybe I wasn't the best candidate for the job? I mean, come on now. Let's get that. Or maybe, yeah, my friend applied for the job, so I'm gonna hire my friend. Like, come on now. I mean, people act like, okay, you can't be a human being. You just gotta be like, oh, am I being, just how crazy do you have to be in your mind that every person you see, I wonder if that person is a racist. Oh, I wonder if that person's a, oh, she didn't say hi. Is she a racist? Oh, she looked down on the ground. Is she a racist? Oh, I tried to say hi to her. Oh, she must be a racist. Just think how crazy would you become if you question everything that happened to you. Everything that happened to you, you thinking your only conclusion, it has to be that this mother was racist. Don't you think that's just ludicrous? That's just a ridiculous thing. Like, what is wrong with people? That's just ridiculous to me. It says some critics claim that the theory advocates discrimination against white people in order to achieve equity. Yeah, you don't have to give that man a job, even though he's the best person for the job. He gonna find another job. He'll have another opportunity. Then you get a black man a job or whoever, somebody that's a person of color. Just because you feel like the white man will have more opportunities than this other person. And he might have been the best person for the job. So fundamentally, though the disagreement springs from different conceptions of racism, CRT puts an emphasis on outcomes, not merely on individuals, on beliefs, and it calls on these outcomes to be examined and rectified. Every outcome, examined and rectified. Okay, so we're examining every outcome to see if something is actually racist. Now, I do believe there is, and in some places, there are things that exist or rules or laws that exist that might be a little racist. Even if you get in trouble for the law, some people do the same crime and their white counterparts get less sentencing. That's been a historical fact. Is it happening everywhere? No. But we know that it does exist. But are we going to examine everything that you do? Now, if you talking to, if you're making decisions on people, like if you're part of a hiring or firing or whatever, you're part of, HR. Are you going to examine your practices? Oh, did I treat her fairly? Or did I treat? And I tell you, to me, it's not racism that kills you in the workplace. It's people of your own people don't look out for you. It had nothing to do with racism. It's your own people that's doing you wrong. You living in the hood, it's the kid next door that will come in your house and rob you. Does that have anything to do with racism? So I'm not a believer of, if you want your kids to have these advanced studies, I do not believe you should depend on a white person to teach them. I just don't believe it. I'm not going to read this to the extent, but to me, it's a bunch of BS. It's a theory. It's a theory. And if you believe in teaching theories, okay, that's cool. But why would you depend on the educational system, a public educational system, to teach your kid a theory? So let me know what you think. Put it in the comment section. We exhausted our time. I gave you my take on this whole subject. I think it's ridiculous, but let me put it in the comment section. Let me know what you think. I am sending all my good to you. I will talk to you soon.